Good evening, everyone. Jose J. Garcia, real estate investor, coach, and mentor. So we got another Sunday coaching series this evening, and I'm looking at the Q&A. That's what we're doing tonight is question, answer, back to back, just question and fire. Okay. Now, for those of you joining me on Instagram, you can just drop questions on there, and I will answer them towards the end as well. But that being said, let's go ahead and jump on into. So, yesterday morning we had a virtual coaching event, and that was exit strategies. We got a lot of these events coming up as well. We continually get emails, messages. Hey, do you coach directly? I'm not coaching directly at this time. I know we did offer a couple programs yesterday that did involve two or three calls directly with myself and them. But overall, we're not. And the reason behind it is we're doing so much scaling at this time. So many rehabs, we're growing. Our goal is to have 500 RTOs, rentals, mixture of by the end of this year, along with obviously trying to make it nationwide, be across the board within the next 5 years. So we're definitely busy. We're blessed. It's a beautiful thing, but it does take time away from where I can have individual one-on-one coaching. So, and I don't want to not give anybody 100%. So I think if, think of people's time, people's money, their investment, and, I want to make sure I give them 110%. And if I can't, then I don't. So, that's where we're at. But we do have these Sunday coaches that continue. You can bring your questions on here. We got Saturday morning check-ins, which you can also come on those as well. And then, of course, Tuesdays, we got the deals where we pitch the mobile homes at that time. But a lot of good questions. I've sent you reading them this afternoon as well. So, but yeah, that's what we're going to do today is Q&A. But yesterday, exit strategies. That was a great coaching call. Originally it was supposed to be in live in Tampa, Florida, where we have our studio. But we got some updates, upgrades going on down there. There's a mess. I don't want to get in there involved, and so that kind of thing. So we converted it to just virtually, but it was a good gathering. Good questions, great people, great investors. A few of those are steady going, and that's the thing is you got to be consistent. A lot of investors show up every so often to some of these coachings. 7 years ago there was no platform where I could just. You mean I can join in Sundays for free? I can ask questions and no strings attached, etc. No such thing. Okay, there was no such thing. It was figure it out. That's what I had. So, I've tried to incorporate everything that I've learned. I bring it on here to add value. I highly believe in giving back. So that's why we do this. Yes, it is a free 30-minute coaching call. So we may not go 30 minutes this evening, but that's what it is. So, okay. That being said, let's go ahead and jump on to the first questions. And again, if you're on Instagram, just drop them on the comments and we'll get to those as well. So, who would you recommend to finance a 6-pad mobile home park in a rural area? That question, I picked it up immediately because there's two wrongs with that one. Okay. Now, no investment is the same, no deal is the same. But one of the things about the smaller mobile home parks is that you have a harder time trying to finance a smaller mobile home park than you would a bigger one. I know that may not make sense, but if you show up with, hey, I have a 100-pad mobile home park and I need 3-4 mil versus, hey, I have a 6-pad mobile home park and I need a couple 100,000, yes, the banks will actually look down on that one. And the reason behind it is because of security. One thing that a lot of people don't realize is, they say mobile home parks, oh, it's commercial. It's commercial. It is commercial, but it cannot be, the loans sometimes cannot be on commercial the same as. Example, if I was going to go get a loan from a bank, the first thing they would want to see is what is the rent rolls, right? But they want to figure out how much it is that we're actually bringing in. Now, here you don't mention how much you're actually bringing in, how much the park is actually doing. And there's so many little questions there. Who owns the mobile homes? Who pays for the utilities? Who pays for the law? Because all those numbers have to make sense so that you can come in and show here's factual numbers of what I got. At the end of the month, this is what I make. This is what we keep. This is what we net, etc. Here's a loan. Then you can get terms. So, who would I recommend to finance a 6-pad? I would probably say a private lender on that one. You can visit your local credit unions. Those are always good. Local small banks. A lot of times they'll tackle something like this. But if not, hard money, private money, visit LinkedIn. All right. How to navigate the local markets remotely. How to navigate through local markets remotely. The repair, the cleaning. Okay. So basically you're trying to learn how to invest virtually. Have boots on the ground. That's key to that. Even though I may never visit certain areas personally that I am investing in, does not mean that I don't have somebody there. I have to have somebody there. It could be another investor, a partner, a family member, if you do business with them. But the majority of the times, it's mobile home park managers. And I mean, I could have a mobile home park manager example in Tallahassee, Miss Patricia, phenomenal. She used to not only oversee our mobile homes in the community that she managed, but there was other parks nearby. So we're almost an hour away. And yes, we paid her to go and visit those and do the same thing. Why? Because we trusted her. So, not every manager is going to say, yes, I'll work for you, even if you do pay on the side, etc. But you may not trust all of them. So you got to find that one boots on the ground that can oversee. Contractors, I always get them the video meets and pictures and updates, etc. But even so, I need somebody, a second set of eyes to say, yes, this is exactly what they're doing. Okay. Okay, next question. My local bank does not loan on mobile homes. Who do you yeah, the majority of these questions are on lending, and that's, mobile homes are personal property. So if you're trying to go to a bank and say, hey, I have a 85 model single wide, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, it's a fixer upper, I'm trying to rehab it and do this, and there's no security. The banks immediately flag it as it's not real property. Okay. Even though mobile homes take money, expenses to be able to move them, they see it as it's rather easy for that home to become gone, can become missing. So there's no real security behind that. You are not going to get a traditional loan on a mobile home unless it includes land. Okay. And that's a whole different one on those. So if you're trying to get lending again on something like this, private and hard money lenders, find an investor, maybe some JV partners. They'll also do something like that. Okay. I have a mobile home without a title. I bought the land. It comes with it. I have this is common too, is I bought land and there was a mobile home on there. You know, I would say we get on average anywhere from 7 to 10 calls a week. I bought land and there's a couple mobile homes, or there's a mobile home. I don't know what to do with it, but bottom line is they don't want it. They don't, it's ugly. It's an eyesore is what they say. So, if you bought a piece of land and you have a mobile home, the thing is when you buy a piece of land, part of the deed is you should have everything listed on what comes with it. Okay. If they have some mobile home on it, technically you're supposed to have a title that they give you, or at least a bill of sale. That's from the seller to yourself. If not, you could run into problems where somebody can come back and claim it later on. It just depends. You're going to have to go back and retract who actually owned the mobile home. I would suggest visit your tax assessor's office, the local one to the mobile home, and ask them, "Hey, I own this property now, and I want to see if if this mobile home is listed under another buyer." You can go about it that way if you do figure that out, and if not, there's ways around it. But I would suggest a bond title. That's we've been doing a lot of those here lately, so bond titles work out great. Do you suggest working with realtors for getting leads? Depends where you're at. If you're in Florida, yes, they're phenomenal down there. Same for some parts of North Carolina, and just a lot of realtors and brokers do not deal with mobile homes, and they'll tell you this. I don't focus on mobile homes because it has to do a whole lot with percentages, and this is what they specialize in. Most realtor brokers don't even know about mobile homes, especially here in Georgia. As we find out that they're like mobile homes, it's like a shocker. It's like, you invest in that every day. It's one of those things. But if you can find an area where you can get one to work with you to find you leads, definitely, absolutely, they're a good source, and they do run into deals because they're out there. They're out there in the market scoping it out. Now, I would suggest paying them a finder's fee and not a percentage. Because one thing about that is, or if they're putting them on a contract and trying to wholesale them to you, they could be marking them way up. But that's up to you to decide on the numbers. If it checks out, if it's a good deal, buy it. But I would definitely pay a referral fee and nothing more than that. Okay. Trying to hire a management company. What do you recommend? Manage every property as much as you can before you actually have to hire a management company. 2 reasons. One, if you do not know how your homes operate, and by that I mean the people living in it, the residents, the tenants. You could go out and hire a property management company, and they say, "Hey, we got trouble out of this tenant every other day, etc." It could be maybe more additional fees to you, more percentage they're charging. On average, we're seeing, what is it, like 9 to 12% of the entire gross rentals is what we see. So, unless you have a large portfolio, not make sense. But again, you should be able to manage, I don't know, 5, 10 properties yourself, and then move over to property management. So just, that's up to you as to how many. Who do I recommend? Nobody specific. I don't know where you're at. So I would say Google and focus on the reviews. Call them up, ask them, ask questions. You could even ask communities, and hey, if they hire an outside property management, it's like, can they refer to somebody? So stick with those. Would you still buy a mobile home without a title? Yeah, buy them every day without titles. Then we got to do bond titles, T-22s, VIN verifications. I got to run around with officers and show them where the bins are at, climb under the mobile homes. So yes, we buy them all the time, but there is work to do behind it. Okay. You do your due diligence again, and you make sure that there's no liens, there's nothing crazy going on with the mobile home. What you're buying is actually legit. And I always question every seller, why are you selling me a mobile home without a title? Where is the title? The thing is, if a homeowner loses his title, and it happens, it's life. But if they lose the title and the mobile home is listed in their name, it is as simple as them going back to the tax assessors or DMV, depends on where you're at, office, and say, hey, I lost my title, I need a replacement. That would take them 7 to 10 days, typically business days, for them to get a new title, and then it's a go time. Instead of you trying to do a bill of sale, and then like I said, the whole process, which is doable, we do it, but there's a whole process in trying to get the home verified, make sure it's not stolen. You got to connect with a bond agency company. They can issue for the title, and just it's the process. So, but it can be done. Yes, I would buy it as long as everything else checks out. Okay. My condo won't allow me to bring a mobile home into the market bypass. Yeah, you can't really bypass the you can't really bypass the county. County rules, regulations are there for a reason. But if you're trying to bring a mobile home into a piece of land, like you're saying, and you're trying to bypass them, they're not allowing you to for a reason. One is it zoned? Is that land, that piece of real estate, is it zoned for mobile homes? Typically, rule of thumb is if you look around it and it's nothing but houses, then they probably don't want a mobile home there. If you see other mobile homes there, then I would question it. If there are other mobile homes there or it is zoned for mobile homes, I would then ask for specifics. What is it that you don't, they can't say you can't bring a mobile home in, okay, unless it's not grandfathered in some specific. But a lot of times what we're seeing is that they're saying, well, you can't bring one that's older than this year, which I think they actually eliminated that as well because of some age restriction. They had all kinds of issues going back and forth. But the way to do it is now is we got one in Spalding County. If you look that up in Georgia, Spalding County, their creative way of saying you can't bring anything behind these models is by saying, hey, the mobile home has to be at least 1,200 square footage with a pitched roof. Well, pitched roofs then come into the 90s, and 1,200 square footage then come into the 90s. That's a 16 by 80. So obviously I can't bring in 80s, but you see how they got creative with that. So, just figure out on something like that is there specifics as to what you can't bring, or you're just not zoned for the mobile home. If you're not zoned, probably say forget about that one. Okay. How often do you raise rents on your tenants? Twice a year, once a year, just depends on the market. We have, what is it, 7 mobile homes in Dublin, Georgia. We raised them up twice last year. We're going to do it again this year, and that's because we're under market numbers. So one thing to keep in mind is, if 2 bedroom, 1 bath, 2 2s, or 3 2s, whatever it may be, are renting for 700-800 a month, you can't think that you're going to get 1,000. And then next year, 1,100, and just keep scaling it. You got to kind of keep up with the inflation of the rentals in the markets. You can call community park managers and ask them. You can visit the Zillow, get some ideas off of that, and kind of see where the numbers are at and try to stick with those. We started rather low on the ones we were doing because it was a different type of project we were trying to do at the time. So then we decided, let's keep them as rentals. But now we got to up the rentals to be able to obviously be where we're supposed to be. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Joining me on here Instagram. So I will look back on here in a few minutes. Just going through our Q&A. So this evening Q&A Sunday coaching series. Every Sunday we coach a different topic. We try to help you as much as we can, and the goal is to always add value. But this evening was a Q&A, questions being sent to us. And we're starting to send emails throughout the week. Also, hey, ask us questions, how we can help you, what are you struggling with, etc. Goal is always to help you out. Okay, let's keep going. I've got a few more questions, and then we're going to go to Instagram. So, community want to approve residents for low income. She makes mostly cash on. Yeah, say we run into some of those. So a community is not approving a resident because of their income. They don't make enough income. Most communities, what we're seeing now is they say you got to make at least 3 or 4 times what the rent is. So if the rental rate in the area is $400 a month, they want to see at least 1,200 or 1,600 that they can show W-2, whatever they, income wise. But what you're asking on here is because if she's a waitress. We've had a few of those, as a matter of fact, where obviously waitresses get paid, I don't know, minimal. I don't want to say minimal dollars an hour, but they make their money off tips. So that's how they're able to obviously produce their income. The unfortunate side behind the tips is that they can't, most of them don't report that. So there's no way to see, yes, you actually made $1,000 this week or 500 this week or whatever it may be, just based on what you are saying. I would say to something like that is get a recommendation letter from their job, from the restaurant, wherever she is a waitress at. Obviously, the boss, the manager, whoever can back them up. That's one strategy there. And then I would ask also is you're trying to get a resident approved. If you're doing an RTO, one of the things that we do is we are held accountable as the rent to own until it is paid off. So a lot of times we may bring a resident into the community and say, well, they may show lower than income you expect, but don't forget, I pay this amount. Until they pay me off, they're gonna pay me and I'm gonna pay you. I'll make sure you get paid. So you being in the middle of that sometimes can obviously, okay, as long as a criminal history doesn't show up that's something crazy, they'll be able to approve it. All right. Keep going. So a couple more. How do you find vacant home owners? Do you recommend cold calling them or sending them letters to mail? Sound like a real estate investor, whoever sent that. Okay, let's see. How do you recommend? Skip tracing is one of them. I'm trying to think of that one site that we've used in the past, and we do that typically not with mobile homes inside of communities, but more so when it's a mobile home with a piece of land. Mobile homes on a private piece of property involves, of course, comes with the land. That's something we can do, and I think it's Snippet. I think is what it is one of the apps that we use. And what happens is you're able to actually turn that app on, and it turns on your camera, which you take a picture, and then it gives you a specific address. Once you have the specific address, sometimes you can pull them up on Zillow, on social media. You can also go to I forget that site. I'm not going to say, but we use a lot of BAs for something like this as we send them over, and I know they skip tracing. They'll come back with phone numbers, emails, relatives, and they're pretty correct for the most part. So I don't know how they find them, but that's typically dead on. So something like that you can try. As far as sending them letters, I think that's old-fashioned and something like that, especially mobile homes. But hey, try it out if it works. One thing about it is be consistent. I've heard that in the past where, hey, I sent a letter and nobody responded. You probably should have sent 5 or 6 or 7, so you got to be consistent about something like that. Cold calling them, I would prefer, if I have an email, I'll email them fine, but I prefer to go in and call them and kind of feel them out. Can't tell how somebody's really feeling if on an email, but if you speak to them, you can kind of tell the distress level. So you talk about the best time to invest in is now for flips. What about the Airbnb? They're at peak time. I think Airbnb is a peak time. Depends on where it's at. Depends on the demand. We talk about this and we cover some on that yesterday on exit strategies. And it was, think about where there's a need for housing at the time. We talk about taking our campers, which we got an event. I'll talk to you about that in a few minutes as well, that we're going to take the campers to the beach. Summertime, there's always a shortage of hotels, motels, stays, etc. So we're going to take campers down to those areas and stage them. And we're going to rent them out by the week, by the nights. We'll figure something like that. Come wintertime, obviously not as many people go to the beach. So then we may take them up to up to the mountains and treat them like little cabins per se. So you just kind of have to figure out when it comes to Airbnb. You can actually visit Airbnb dash, I forget that's where you can check, and they have specifics. You can also check areas. You can even go to Airbnb as a tenant, as if I was looking for an Airbnb, and you can also scope out areas and see where there's so many and kind of what they're renting for. So, it's just different ways to get comps and ideas on there. Okay. You recommend partnering up with mobile home park owners. Yeah, if they'll do it. If a park owner comes to you, which they don't typically do that, you're more, I would say you can do business with park operators, park owners, but depends on what type of partner you're talking about. If they want you to come in and own some of the community or, something like that, potentially. But just the individual mobile homes, I would say it's a two-type business. I'll own the mobile homes, I do business with you, and we just kind of keep them separate. That's me. Okay. That's just what I would do. So, all right, that is the last question I'm going on this evening. So we'll talk about a couple of things real quick. And on here, like I said on Instagram, if you have any questions, just drop them on the chats and I will answer them. If you join us after we started as well, I am recording. So we'll have this call on YouTube. It's no longer going to be on Instagram, so the live does not get placed on there. April 15th, okay? Always thinking about exit strategies, generating income, passive income, cash flow, you name it, right? think about ways that you can maximize those. When I think about a mobile home, it could be do a rental for a year, then turn over and do a lease option or a rent to own, maybe do an Airbnb. Okay, do an Airbnb and completely furnish the home. You'll make X amount for however many months, years you do, and then sell it fully furnished, which we've done that in the past, and the home sold wonderfully. When I say that is we have very nice profits out of that. So, we're always thinking about different ways, additional, what more can we incorporate? What more can we do? We're always trying to push the envelope just a little bit more. And we thought about this whole concept of campers. Now, originally I had said campers for Airbnb, which we're going to do them. But there's one more strategy that I want to work on now, and it's something similar to what extended stay hotels, motels are doing. Now, if you look at some of those in your areas, you'll notice that some of those charge 400 or 500 a week. It just depends on. They're fully furnished. I mean, it's basically like a house. And we're thinking obviously a need. There's got to be a need for it. So, as doing our research and figuring out everything that's going on, there's a lot of people that live in these hotels, extended stays, not because they don't have the money to buy something, but because their credit is shot. Something happened in the past, their credit is terrible, they may have something on their record, who knows? But they're able to say, yes, I can come in and pay $1,500 a month if they'll just give me the home, right? I can cover the actual cost of it. They're not approving me. So when we sit there and think about it, it's like we can do the same thing with campers. We can stage them in certain communities. Obviously, we got to get approval. It is subleasing, so that's what we got to get approvals through the community managers, park owners, etc. And we have at this time. So the two campers that we've been setting up at the Griffin, Georgia. If you want to look at this, the state of Georgia's Griffin, Georgia. We're staging the two campers that we have at this time. We plan on bringing 3 more to fill that one community. It's a mobile home park slash RV campground. So it's a mixture, which you don't see too many of those in Georgia. Florida, they're everywhere. But instead, I'm going to go ahead and do the extended stay. We are getting everything put together, leases, we're setting it up. And, RVs and campers, they're already furnished because they make them with a couch, with the sofas, with, everything is there that they need. So a couple changes we're doing, but that's what April 15th is going to be. I want to spend one day out there and I'm going to take a small crew. We just actually posted this event on our meetup. There's no web page yet, so that is coming as well. 5 people from yesterday's call have already signed up. The reason I want to keep this a small crowd is, I'm always thinking about safety. We did a shadow, what was it, a year and a half ago down in Central Georgia. And we just say, just let everybody book. Whoever buys, I'm not trying to limit people from coming to learn. It's more so that mobile homes are small. You imagine trying to fit 50, 60 people in a mobile home? Doesn't work out very well. So we ended up just letting it roll. And we had almost 60 people that signed up and that were there. That was very productive. I loved it, but it meant we constantly had to do groups at a time, go in and review, go in and check. And the problem with that is I don't get as personal with people. I don't get to really meet you, handshake, and, get to know what you're doing and how to really help you. So with keeping it a smaller group, especially on campers now, even smaller than mobile homes, we'll be able to get a little more personal and learn more effectively. 15 spots is all I'm going to do at this time, but we are going to offer it virtually as well. So we'll have a camera crew out there recording, and it'll be playing, on Zoom as well, if you can't join us. But definitely check that out. Like I said, there's no link on that. You can go to our social media. I think on Instagram here, if you're on here, you can check our last post on that as well. But that's going to be Extended Stay by Jay with campers. Check that out. All right. Let me see if there's any questions on here. That's going to do it for this evening. So, all right. I don't see any questions at this time. So, all right. Well, thank you all for joining me this evening. Don't forget Tuesday, 7 p.m. EST time. Right back here live on Instagram. We'll be pitching deals. Thank you for watching.